What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. Quite a beefy one for you guys today, so let's get straight into it. Let's start talking about Arne Slot, as Miguel Delaney says that final boss Arne Slot is being viewed as the leading candidate for the Tottenham job, while they are also monitoring Julian Nagelsmann's situation. And Paul O'Keefe says Arne Slot and Nagelsmann are currently top of Tottenham's preferred options.
I think Arne Slot is emerging as the most logical candidate in the way. If Poch isn't going to be available, we'll talk about Poch in a sec. But if we're not going to go for Poch, and if Nagelsmann can't be convinced, and if Paratici's now gone, so Enrique's probably off the table. If you're looking at a manager who would see Tottenham as like their first choice, does play progressive football, and has got a good recent record in management, I guess Arne Slot does kind of fit that bill at the moment. Obviously, there are reservations, but in terms of football he plays, and maybe he could see someone as being a bit innovative in the way he plays as well, he could be emerging as like the top candidate.
Yeah, well, that's what it seems like. I am warming up to the idea of Arne Slot, to be honest. I would prefer other targets, but I would be excited if we brought him in, to be honest, because of the football he plays, because of the philosophy he has, and maybe his ability to work with players that maybe aren't top talents. Then maybe it could be a viable option for us.
I was watching his final side against Roma though in the Europa League, and Roma well beat them, and they nearly got through last minute, but like I feel like Mourinho really did him tactically, and that was the thing.
Fact of the matter is like the Italian league coming up against the Dutch league. I think that you're always going to favour with the Italian side. They're always going to be the favourites coming into that game.
Funnily enough though, if Alkmaar beat West Ham, Holland, the Dutch league, go above the French league in the coefficients, which is mad. It shows that maybe they're improving.
Yeah, fair enough. But let's move on. Let's talk about Julian Nagelsmann now. Some interesting reports have dropped today. Romano says that Nagelsmann has now withdrawn from the race to become the new Chelsea head coach. It looks like that's his final decision. German coach is said to no longer be available after multiple rounds of talks. Nagelsmann was the top candidate for the job. Nagelsmann, when asked on talks collapse with Chelsea for the head coach job, he says, to cancel something, you have to commit to something. And then Romano went on to say it's definitely over between Nagelsmann and Chelsea because they had different views on crucial points. And he also went on to say a bit later on, Chelsea want to be 100% sure of their next coach and not having any question marks. Their process takes time. Julian Nagelsmann has been in regular contact with Chelsea, but crucial points were never fully agreed. Luis Enrique out the race, Pochettino in the race. Ben Jacobs says that Chelsea feedback received on Julian Nagelsmann is understood to have been mixed, even negative in some quarters. There was some skepticism following due diligence. And Matt Law finally says that don't expect Nagelsmann to end up at Tottenham. For what it's worth, him not being part of the Chelsea process has no impact on that situation, which I kind of don't really believe that too much, because I think it does have an impact on the situation, because if he doesn't go to Chelsea, that's one club that are out of the situation. I
guess, but what he's trying to say is he ain't going to Tottenham, and him not going to Chelsea doesn't change that. Yeah. I guess that's what he's trying to say. Interesting that a lot of people had Nagelsmann down as the big favourite to join Chelsea. Interesting that he's been ruled out so early on. And that obviously does open the door a bit for us. I wouldn't start like popping a champagne just yet, just because he's turned down Chelsea, because I don't think that necessarily means Tottenham now are the front runners. But he hasn't completely ruled us out yet, and so I guess that's a positive. When he says when you have to say no, what did he say? When you have to cancel something. The
quote is, one second.
When you have to...
The quote is, to cancel something, you have to commit to something.
So I'm just guessing he's saying, look, when I say no, I'm just going to commit to that no. There's no going back on that, essentially. Because we've seen it a few times. I remember once, first what happened with Spurs, ruling out Nuno, then appointing him later on. It happened with Liverpool. I remember Brendan Rodgers came out saying, I'm not joining Liverpool because he didn't think they were serious. And a few weeks later, Liverpool were serious, and he ended up going there. So I think, but maybe that's what he's trying to say, is like, I'm not going to go back there. I've said no, that's it, kind of thing. So I guess that is positive. That's not negative. It can't hurt the Tottenham's chances of getting him, but I wouldn't be thinking that this now is going to inevitably be Tottenham, because I think we still got a lot of convincing to do.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what the Chelsea reservations were about Nagelsmann. Do you have any sort of idea why they would have reservations on him? Is it just the age, their lack of experience a little bit?
I don't know specifically. All I can see is reports saying that he wanted to be interviewed with no other candidate or something. So he wanted to basically be given the job. Essentially, he didn't want to compete for it, which is an interesting thing. Maybe the reservations as well from his time at Bayern, that he didn't maybe command a lot of respect from the senior players. Is he the right person to head a project like this when Potter's just failed and he's also a very young manager? Do they want someone with more experience potentially? That I thought they might have reservations on him, to be honest, but only because of how flat it went with Potter. And do they want to go with another similar kind of young manager? Maybe they want someone more experienced. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I, for one, I think he'd be a perfect fit for Tottenham if we do get him in my opinion. I think it works. I think it all fits. It's just about whether we can convince him.
Yeah, and talking about what Chelsea are going to do, let's talk about this next man, Mauricio Pochettino. Quite a lot of updates on Pochettino, to be honest. So let's get straight into it. Sammy Mockbell says that Pochettino is the preferred candidate for a number of players and large section of the fan base, but his appointment is viewed as unrealistic for Tottenham. Sky Sports says that Chelsea have had initial contacts with Mauricio Pochettino over the manager's position at Stamford Bridge. Now, Fabrizio Romano says discussions are ongoing between Chelsea and Mauricio Pochettino. He knows the Premier League very well, and this could be a factor. Both sides are discussing potential ideas and the project. Then, in another update, he says the conversations between Pochettino and Chelsea board will now continue as expected after opening talks earlier this week. Shortlist remains as no decision has been made yet. Nagelsmann and Luis Enrique out the race. Spurs did not approach Pochettino recently. He goes on to say now that Pochettino is now the favourite to become the new Chelsea manager. Matt Law says that Pochettino has boosted his candidacy for the Chelsea job following a series of positive talks. Pochettino's situation with Chelsea could now accelerate after very positive talks and Julian Nagelsmann's withdrawal. Pochettino is emerging as a favourite for the Chelsea job following a dramatic 24 hours. Club currently working from a 3-man shortlist, including company, after Nagelsmann was ruled out. The Times saying that Mauricio Pochettino is expected to reach the final round of talks for the Chelsea vacancy. Miguel Delaney saying that Mauricio Pochettino's association with Tottenham has played on the Argentine's mind. However, he is keen to work in the Premier League again at a top club. His ties with Spurs are not seen as an issue by Chelsea. And last but not least, Matti Moretto saying the option from Pochettino returning to Tottenham has never been hot due to the Argentine's bad relations with the board. The parties did not end on the best of terms at the club.
Interesting to hear that, because from what it seemed as though Levy and Pochettino are still in contact, and they still have good relations. So interesting to hear him say the opposite, because I don't know if that, I don't know how, it depends. I guess it depends who the hierarchy may be. Maybe he has good relations with some and not with others. It would absolutely break my heart.
Probably doesn't like Donna Cullen too much.
No, I don't know. It would absolutely break my heart to see Pochettino in a Chelsea, on the Chelsea dugout, considering what he did for Tottenham. I mean, I wouldn't begrudge him, to be honest, because I wouldn't see it as like I know Chelsea were like our main rivals when he was our manager, to be honest, in terms of like league position and stuff. But look, we sacked him. And we didn't, and we should have been loyal to him. So why should he be loyal to us? Yeah,
I get that, but like in terms of like if he goes there and he goes and wins a Premier League title, a Champions League, and we're all there to see, like, and he becomes a Chelsea legend or whatever, would you still welcome him back here with open arms? Would you still be, dying for him to come back?
No, probably. Well, would I be dying for him to come back? Look, I mean,
does it move the goalposts for you?
I guess it depends how it goes with him at Chelsea. I guess
that's what I said. If he goes there and becomes a really good manager there and wins a lot of things,
that would be tough. That would be tough to take. That would be really tough to take. I would still probably want him back, to be honest. But it depends. Like, who knows? As in, like, I don't know if does he disrespect us while he's there? I don't know. Like, does he get a warm welcome when he comes back to Tottenham? Like, I'm assuming, like,
I can't see it.
I'm assuming you'll have to, like, when you're coming from you're Chelsea, and that's it. You're now the enemy. So what can, there's nothing you can do. But I don't think he's like a Judas or anything like that. If he goes to Chelsea, I still respect him, and I don't begrudge him whatsoever going to Chelsea. I wouldn't boo him. I would boo as in he'd be part of Chelsea, wouldn't he? And I boo Chelsea, so like he'd be part of that. It'll be one of those things where like at the beginning, like I would give him a warm welcome. Once the game starts, bam, he's the enemy. You know what I mean? One of those things.
I don't even think I could bring it in me to give him a warm welcome. If he returns in that blue of Chelsea, I still probably later down the line would want him back when the dust settles, but in the moment, I'll probably have a lot of distaste for him.
Do you reckon Chelsea fans hate Mourinho?
I think some do. I think the Chelsea fans that I spoke to, like Lewis and Louis and them lot, they still like Mourinho. They still like Conte. They had no problems with Conte when he came to Spurs and stuff like that. But I think the Spurs fan base are a bit different to the Chelsea fan base.
Yeah, but yeah, true. It would break my heart. It would absolutely break my heart to see him go there and win things, and then that we can provide it here for him.
It would kill me. It would absolutely kill me if Poch was to go to Chelsea. It really would.
Don't do it, Poch.
Second worst thing to go to Arsenal. Second worst thing to go to Arsenal.
Don't do it. Just go with your heart. Just say no. What did he say when he was at Spurs? He would rather work on a farm than go to Arsenal.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, there's
a nice farm in North London, mate. Come on.
When Pochettino was at Spurs and talking about all that kind of stuff, so would never go to Arsenal, would never go to Espanyol to Barcelona because of his Espanyol links. Like when he was at Spurs, the squad and him saw Chelsea as our biggest rivals.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it should really fall into the same category for me, Arsenal and Chelsea.
Yeah, but we sacked him.
Yeah, I know.
You know, we sacked him, and
he's still not going to go. Like he wouldn't go to Arsenal. Still, I don't think.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think so, but who knows in this day and age?
I'd like to think back. So. Come on, man! Don't break all of our hearts. But anyway, let's move on and let's talk about Ruben Amorim. Sammy Mokbel saying Tottenham are exploring an interest in Ruben Amorim, but doesn't look like he is very high up the list, to be honest.
He's got a £15 million release clause. And look, I guess in the bigger picture of managers, that's not like that big of an outlay, but I just think there are better managers out there we can get for less money. And he looks as though he's happy at Sporting right now. And he's a good manager, Amorim, but I would rather really go push the boat out for other managers than him.
Would you prefer Slot over Amorim?
That's a good question. I'm not so sure, actually. I think... Yeah, I probably would. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some potential players now. Back to the James Maddison situation. And Jay Percy is saying that Maddison is almost as certain to leave Leicester this summer. The England international is a target for Tottenham and could be sold for around £50 million. And I think that's a really good price for Maddison.
It is, even with a year left on his contract. It depends, I guess. A lot depends if they go down or not. So there's not going to be any transfer business done until the end of the season, or essentially. I don't think we're signing any pre-deals because... if Leicester go down, we know that he's going to be going for less. So, look, I'd love him. I've said it many times. Great player, but I don't think this is one that's imminent right now, especially with no manager and with Leicester with their status in the balance.
And especially with Newcastle sniffing around as well. Let's talk about Evan Ndika now, out of contract in the summer for Eintracht Frankfurt. Romano has confirmed with us a few months ago now, I think, that he will not be signing a new contract. And Peter O'Rourke saying that Tottenham and Liverpool are set to go head-to-head for the free signing of Evan Ndika this summer. And if we're going head-to-head with Liverpool, I mean, there's probably only one winner there, right?
Probably. But when you think about Liverpool, they've got their centre-backs. They've got Konate, they've got Van Dijk, they've got Matip. They've got players there who play regularly. Like for Tottenham, he probably comes straight into the 11. So if he's looking at maybe playing time, I guess it depends also on European competition. If we finish above Liverpool, maybe it's not a complete foregone conclusion because he comes in at Tottenham, he's number one. But if Liverpool can promise him game time, then I guess he probably would go there. But I don't think it's a completely foregone conclusion when you consider he'd be number one centre-back at Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, if he was to go... Who did Liverpool have a centre-back? They got
Konate, Van Dijk.
Konate, Van Dijk. I mean, Van Dijk is ageing, to be honest. I mean, I think Ndika, in terms of straight away, he would probably come in here and be a starter, but he could look at Liverpool and talk about his career, you know what I mean? Like a longer career going and
yeah, but Van Dijk's he's still only 30. So he's not going to be. He's not going to be.
I know he's only 30, but he actually seems like he's regressing faster than that. Like
he does. He's had a bad season, but like last season he was brilliant. And after coming back from injury, then he's had a poor season this season, but by no means does that mean he's going to have a bad season next season. You know what I mean? Maybe he gets back to his best, and if he does that, then he's not going to get a look in. So it's a difficult one. I'd like to. It also depends it depends where both Spurs and Liverpool finish potentially. I think we could maybe sell it to him, but Liverpool. He might look at Liverpool and think, if I can get into that 11, then that's the best place for me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on. And the last transfer bit of news we've got for you today is on Clement Longley. And who's reporting it? Sport are reporting that Tottenham and Barcelona have advanced in negotiations with Clement Longley in recent hours. Barca hope to secure just over 12 million euros for him, and all parties expect a deal to be agreed. I mean, 12 million euros is not a bad price for someone like Longley, but I just feel like if we're going to sign him as our number one centre back, then no. If we are going to sign him for just a backup, then I probably would take it.
Yeah, I guess it depends. I wouldn't want to. I don't know about like David. Like, do I want him and Davis again in the squad? You know what I mean? Because then there's like all of a sudden you're looking at that. Is there room for another left centre back? I don't know. So you probably want one of them gone essentially. Yeah. And then if you're signing Longley, you're going to have to find a buyer for Davis. Whereas it's probably easier just to not sign Longley and then sign another top class left centre back. So for me, I would rather not do it. But if we do have intentions of maybe moving Davis on, I wouldn't be totally against it as a sub left back. I just think he's just been average. Maybe surely in a better.
Davis's contract's got to be running down soon.
I don't know. I can't remember when he signed a new one. Yeah. For me, Longley has not been a disaster, but he just hasn't been anything to him that has improved us. So I don't see the point in keeping him around.
Yeah, I kind of agree. But like, if I was pushed and said 12 million for Longley, but we're going to sign a big centre-back on top of that as well, I mean, I wouldn't be against that.
No, I wouldn't be totally against it, but I'd rather we didn't.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the last story of the day, and it's regarding the sporting director situation, or director of football situation. And Graham Bailey is reporting that Tottenham have identified Sevilla director of football Monchi as a contender to replace Fabio Paratici. Now, this is a really interesting one because Monchi did an unbelievable job at Sevilla in his first time round there. He's now there at his second stint at the club. He spent a bit of time at Roma in between there. But some of the players that he has unearthed is players like Diego Capel, Alberto Romano, Jesus Navas, Sergio Ramos, Jose Antonio Reyes, Dani Alves, Julio Baptista, Federico Fazio, Seydou Keita, Ivan Rakitic, Jules Koundé, Diego Carlos, Yusuf El Nesri. I mean, some really good players in there. And on top of that, there's many more as well. But that first stint he had at Sevilla was such a good job. Nearly broke that mold, didn't he, of the Barcelona, Real Madrid stronghold in La Liga, won copious amounts of Europa Leagues. And he even beat that Frank Rijkaard Barcelona team 3-0 in a Super Cup at times, but hasn't gone exactly the same way in his second time round, but still not doing too much of a bad job, although it's been a terrible season, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's all impressive, but it's a long time ago. That's what I'm worried about. I feel like Tottenham needs something innovative. They need to be up there with new, fresh ideas. And I feel like even Paratici, in a way, was representative of an old school way of doing things, like in terms of like getting success.
That's all we've gone for, really.
And yeah, I feel like we just need something completely innovative. And I think Monchi, from what I've been reading, like he's got a vast network of scouts and things like that. But I feel like, yeah, scouts are good, but you also we need to like update I feel like we need to update like our data-driven analysis kind of thing. We need more of that, like Brighton are doing. Yeah, like what Brighton are doing, and what that kind of methods get ahead of the competition rather than just relying on things like scouts, just like the eye test essentially, which can work, but I feel like quite outdated in this day and age. Not to say, look, I've seen what he's done at Sevilla. Even recently, he's got signed some good players, but hasn't gone brilliant for Sevilla over the last few years. Whether he's updated his methods and stuff like that remains to be seen. But I just would rather someone a bit more maybe not outside the box, but like a bit more innovative, a bit more current. Someone who's like up to date with like the latest moving things of football, and someone who's just, to me, someone who's been director of football for like 20 years. Yes, he's got lots of experience, but the world is changing so fast. Like recently, I feel like we just need more innovative ideas. And I don't know. Maybe he does provide it. I just would rather. I don't know. But that's what we need, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if these talks do intensify, we should do a very deep look into him, and we'll provide some content over that. But he does have a very impressive CV from his time at Sevilla, to be honest. And yes, it was a very long time ago, but let's be honest, right? Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, Fabio Paratici also had unbelievable CVs coming into this, but Tottenham are the teams that break all these kind of people. So I kind of agree. I kind of feel like we do need someone maybe up and coming that has those kind of innovative ideas.
Yeah, so it kind of feels like you're telling me like this guy had like an amazing TV channel back in back in the 2000s. I'm like, yeah, but this is the internet now. This is social media. We need to get with the time. Like that's what it kind of feels like to me. Yeah. But maybe he has evolved. I don't know. I don't know too much about his recent methods, but it doesn't seem as though he's done so well recently.
Yeah. Well, look, that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.